Here we go. Lock. Man wide open. Touchdown! Touchdown, Rucci. The other one. That's Nolan Rucci, folks. That's not Hayden Rucci. It's his brother Nolan. The receiver.
Okay, that's enough of that. I'm sorry you had to hear that again. College broadcasts in 2023 continue to be insane. But this video is about something else. Yesterday, or I guess Monday, Coach Bielema at his press conference mentioned this play, talked about a few of the things. Seemed to be some confusion about it on Twitter and such, and so I figured I would just put together a video and explain what was happening here. And explain what he was talking about. What this video is not is, anytime something like this is discussed, we are a fan base that hates excuses more than any other fan base. So anything that sounds remotely like here's the whole reason Illinois lost this game will be attacked with pitchforks. And I just want to say before we do this is an explanation of what the coach was talking about and what Wisconsin was doing here and everything else. As to the whys and the whats, you guys can debate that forever. Here is the very specific what happened on that play. What was the coach talking about? Let's get to it. We will start with what Coach Bielema said he took to the league office about this play.
I was also working through the Big Ten office literally after the Wisconsin game, or the way the game ended. We had a player catch a pass that I assumed was number 93 for Wisconsin. They have a defensive lineman that wears that jersey number, but that was not the case. When I went to the official stats on Sunday morning, it revealed that a offensive lineman caught the stats, and I didn't catch that because 93, I just assumed when he caught it that was him, and I was never notified of another 93 in the game. So made a pretty formal process to the Big Ten, asked for explanation how that could happen, and that kind of didn't get resolved until Wednesday or Thursday of last week. So that was a huge learning experience, something I've never been through before. The last play of the game, we saw 93 line up at the tackle. Our players didn't see it because he was covered with a YY. It's a totally legal play, but again, he warmed up in number 66 before the game, so that's what we checked him off in our two-deep lineup. And when you report into the game in any number other than what you reported in, you have to tell us. We've done it. I bet you I've done it 30 times in my playing career or my coaching career. We did it 4 or 5 times earlier this year when number 5, when Caleb was kicking off, Zach Toby, you literally hear the officials announce number 5 is now in the game. We're in this, so it's very frustrating and had a huge impact on the game, especially with not having those 2 timeouts that I feel were directly resolved or could have been resolved with better management. But Wisconsin won the game, and we have to take the loss. But I was exploring many options to try and get that verified, but obviously don't want to avail.
Okay, this will take a bit to explain, so bear with me here. What he's talking about, this is the rule in the rule book that he's talking about. That if a player puts on a different number, and as he mentions there, Zach Toby and Caleb Griffin both wear number 5. If Caleb Griffin is kicking off, as he did early in the year, then if they want Zach Toby on kickoff coverage, Zach Toby's got to pull on a different jersey during that play because we can't have 2 number 5s on the field. So Zach Toby will pull on, let's say, number 37, and he runs out there and he tells the official, I'm wearing 37 now. The officials can't keep track of who is who. This would prevent some, Johnny Newton kicked out of the game. He can't go over the sideline and put on number 16 and then come back in the game. And like, no, I'm not Johnny Newton. I'm somebody else. So the officials rely on each team to have those players report, and if they have a different number on, they are to report to the official for that reason. So that's the rule here. This is the NCAA rule book. It's part D here. I think this is Article 1. Gosh, I'll lose all the sections. Oh, I think it says at the end there, Article 142ID. 142ID, Everybody knows 142 ID. When a player enters the game after changing their jersey number, the player must report to the referee. The officiating crew informs the opposing head coach, and the referee announces the change. A player who enters the game after changing their number and does not report commits a foul for unsportsmanlike conduct. So, yes, it is a 15-yard penalty if a player does not report. However, again, say we tried to sneak Johnny Newton back in there, I'm sure that they would notice, and someone from Wisconsin would go to the ref and say, hey, that wasn't really number 16. That was Johnny Newton back in the game. And then Illinois would get an unsportsmanlike, a 15-yard penalty for, having a player who's not in his number. So what he is saying there is that for the touchdown, the offensive lineman who caught it, Rucci, is number 66, but he was wearing number 93. Now, this is where it gets a little bit complicated. He had not entered the game as number 66. He hadn't played on offensive line as 66, run off the field, and then come back in wearing 93 to disguise this. And we'll get to why he was wearing 93. But the issue here is that he warmed up wearing number 66. Now, why would Wisconsin have him warm up wearing number 66? You just have to picture how this works. You see coaches in headsets, right? There are a lot of people on those headsets. Certain people are calling out, watching certain things. Before the game, teams want to know who's the two deep, what players is Wisconsin using, so that, say there's a spotter who's watching the tight ends, he's on the headset, and the spotter is up in the press box. He says he sees Wisconsin send on number 87 and number 89 or whatever, and they take off two wide receivers. He's on the headset saying they're going heavy, they're putting in two tight ends. He's got a list of all the tight end numbers in front of him. They verified that with pregame checks during warm-ups, and they know who's coming on the field to then tell the defensive coordinator they're going heavy. Okay, we're going to sub with these guys. That's why the numbers are important. You need to know who they're sending on and who they're not sending on, right? So if Wisconsin, before the game, puts Rucci in... this is Nolan Rucci, not Hayden Rucci. If they put Nolan Rucci in, say, 93 before the game, we're checking it out. We're seeing a 93 with Rucci. We're checking their roster and seeing that Rucci is number 66. And a whole bunch of light bulbs are going off. And, whoever is doing those checks is telling the coaches, hey, they got a guy who's normally an offensive lineman wearing 93. Why would he do that? Because when he's wearing number 66, he can't go out for a pass. If you wear number 50 through number 79, you're an ineligible receiver. And therefore, if he's wearing number 66 and he goes out for a pass, he can't. But if they want to use him in this situation, they can change him to an eligible number, in this case, 93. But, again, if he's a 93 before the game, Illinois is going to know something's up. So they put him in 66 before the game and then changed his number to 93. That's kind of part one of all of this, of what happened. The issue with this specific play, which we'll get into in a bit, is, if this guy hasn't run on the field yet, does he need to report to the official? Coach Bielema obviously believes he does. I think he does. I'm looking through this whole rule book. I'm trying to figure out, I've seen somebody comment about this saying, well, maybe he just, maybe if he doesn't play, then he's just number 93. Well, again, he warmed up in 66 to not tip people off. Then he changed into 93, and then he's going to come on the field as 93. So I'm going to show you the play. We're going to go through it, and then we're going to talk some more about, what was really kind of happening here. Here we are during the timeout. After their second down play, we had a tackle for loss. Back at the 3, they lost 2 yards. They have 3rd and goal from the 3. They call timeout. This is where they are setting up this trick play. And you'll see here in a bit that they're getting ready with number 93, number 66 in his 93 jersey. So the setup here is, again, as I just said, he warmed up in 66, then changed to 93. If he warms up in 93, we're going to have a flag on that and say, hey, guys, they got one of their offensive linemen wearing an eligible number. Also, if he reports to the ref right here saying, hey, I'm number 66, but I'm playing in number 93, then our entire sideline is going to signal this is tackle eligible. Hey, guys, heads up, this one's going to 93. So that's why they don't have him report. Also interesting to me, right here, this is their huddle. This is 93 right here, and that's the head coach standing behind him, covering his number. Again, he doesn't want anyone to know or to note or to understand that 93 is about to come into the game, because that's a big signal to us. We don't do anything about that because we, basically, it's really hard. We don't have any timeouts. The coaches can't do anything about it, so it's up to the players to notify or to understand what's happening, and it would be almost impossible. So there he comes across, immediately crouches down. Nobody can see his number. The 2 tight ends move out of the way. Everyone thinks he's the left tackle. He's really not. He's eligible. There he is. Touchdown, Wisconsin. They win the game. Just going back here, I'm going to pause it at this. So basically, they line 2 tight ends outside of him. When they motion those tight ends to the other side, again, every football play, you have to have 5 guys in those ineligible numbers on the field so that everyone knows who your ineligible players are. So normally in this formation, it would be left tackle, left guard, center, right guard, right tackle. What they did is they added an extra offensive lineman here in one of those ineligible numbers. So they overloaded on one side of the line, which makes him an eligible receiver. They have their 5 ineligibles. They motioned this tight end to the other side. To Alec Bryant lining up here, it just looks like the left tackle. People would say, well, he should have seen that it was number 93. Well, maybe. But a guy sprints to the line, gets down, he's 2 guys inside, then they motion the 2 tight ends out of that, leaving him exposed on the end, and he's leaned over. How is Alec Bryant really going to know what's happening there? That's why he's in 93. That's why they couldn't announce him as 93, and that's why they changed him into 93 after warming him up as 66. It's all part of this. And then, as you see, like I said, he just gives Bryant one chuck. Bryant thinks he's got him beat to the outside, and there it is, touchdown. So I'll pause there because the question is, should he have reported eligible? That's why Coach Bielema's, I said that wrong. I said the NFL thing. Should he have reported the number change? In the NFL, you have to, if the NFL runs this play, the guy can't change numbers. He has to be in his number, and he has to go to the official and say, I'm wearing an ineligible number, but I am an eligible receiver on this play, and the official will announce it. Because of that, obviously, it's very hard to run tackle eligible in the NFL because the official just announced, hey, left tackle or right tackle is eligible, and now the entire defense knows to watch for that. In college, it's hard to do as well, because you have to have someone who looks like a lineman. If they're lining up a wide receiver at that spot, we're probably going to catch it. Instead, they're lining up an offensive lineman at that spot. Looks like a duck, quacks like a duck. And, nobody's really checking his number to see, and he's eligible. So in that sense, it's a smart play. The issue is Wisconsin, knowing that we would catch on through all of these other means, doing did we forget to have him report that he changed numbers? Gosh, we are so sorry about that. Our bad. We'll get that fixed next time. Because again, I just want people to fully understand that side of it. The officials have no way to monitor that. As I said on the radio appearance yesterday, This is like taxes, right? You do your taxes. You say, here's what I made and here's what I paid, and then you tell the government that. That's what this is. The officials have no way to know if someone reported in a different number. They are relying on the team to in a sportsmanship sense, they are relying on the team to say, look, if we change a guy into a different number, we will have him report to you on the field and say, I'm wearing a different number. That's why this exists. Why didn't they? Because they could do this and get away with it. We didn't even, our head coach didn't even know till the next day. That's the issue here, is that this is relying on the teams to say, yes, we agree, we will. In the event that we have a player change numbers, we agree, we will have him report. The question, obviously, as I asked earlier, is if he didn't play as 66 and only warmed up as 66, does he have to report? That's what Wisconsin would argue. No, he doesn't. I would argue absolutely he does. There's a reason he warmed up in 66, because otherwise we're going to be like, hey, where's that guy, that Rucci guy, who is their backup left guard or whatever? And we would be on to something kind of thing. And so that's why there's this, as I framed it on the radio thing, I guarantee there was a meeting about this play. I guarantee in that meeting in the offensive room at Wisconsin, somebody probably said, I don't know, can we do that? Like, it's a penalty. I'm like, well, if nobody knows in the moment, is it really a penalty? Like, Illinois is not going to know our roster and know we can put one guy in a different number and they're not going to say, hey, that doesn't look like so-and-so. That looks like so-and-so. They could get away with it, which is why teams are relied on. And I'm at least hoping someone in that meeting is like, yeah, but like that's really shady. Like, we're just like, oh, yeah, that's right. He did change numbers when we're supposed to be the ones reporting that. And that's what happened on this play. Add it to the clapping, add it to the other stuff. It tells us that Luke Fickell is willing to get as gray as possible in moments like this. That's the big takeaway from this for me. It's not, oh my gosh, they cheated, how they shouldn't have won. It's, man, that's really, really on the edge of things. Now, as far as the officials, they're not really doing anything wrong in this moment. Again, they rely on you to say, hey, I am not actually 93, I'm actually 66, but I'm in on this play as 93. And if you're not going to do that, there's not much they can do. If they find out about it during the play of the game, yes, it's a 15-yard penalty for changing your number and not reporting in a different number. But the officials aren't going to be able to spot that. They don't know the faces of every player on your team to say, oh, wait, is that so-and-so or is that so-and-so? So that's the issue. Now, the one big thing that does come down to the issues is this next play, which is why didn't we have the one timeout we had left? Let's change the clip here and get to that.
On the big play that set up the game-winning touchdown, the player goes out of bounds, and because it was past the 20, that didn't initiate a substitution, but he then watched the next play. The guy that caught the ball watched the play from the sideline. So obviously I know what happened, right? There was a substitution, but we weren't given a substitution signal, so that made me cause my turnout, so to call a timeout. So after the clap and after that one, I had two timeouts that could have been given back to us, which would have had a huge effect.
So here's the big play that he's talking about. Again, freshman quarterback, just an incredible throw. A minute left in a Big Ten game. That's, wind's going to make it sail a little bit. Just an incredible throw. Props to that kid. But let's talk about what Coach Bielema is referencing there. So, player goes out of the game. There he is on the sideline. They made a sub, which means they're going heavy. We want to make a sub. We're trying to make that sub and run Seth Coleman off. He's not going to get off, so we have to take a timeout. That's our last timeout to prevent a penalty there. This is him saying, why am I not getting the sub signal? They change their lineup. I get a chance to change my lineup. What's happening? A timeout like that, what he's referencing is if the officials are like, oh, yeah, yeah, we should have allowed you. We're not going to charge you a timeout. We've seen that earlier in the year. Like, Illinois has not charged a timeout in this situation, kind of thing. It's not specifically a challenge as much as it is just that. But they don't reverse it. I think we'll get another shot here of Bielema's kind of upset, obviously, that, hey, they changed. We get to swap out our defensive ends. Why did you not give us that option? And so because he took a timeout there, that meant we didn't have a timeout on the final play. And that, I believe, is a massive, massive thing for them deciding to run with that play. Again, you have to think of this in terms of spotters and what's going on in the headsets. Well, there's a headset right there. You know, who Henry's talking to. There's Bielema's like, what are we doing here, folks? Why weren't we allowed? Why do I not get my timeout back? They subbed. We're allowed to sub. These are the rules. You're supposed to give me that signal and let my guy get in. I can't have to take a timeout just because we're going to have too many men on the field. So where does this play in? On 3rd and goal, as we just watched, I'm guessing that one of our spotters might have seen 93. Someone on the sideline or up in the booth might have gotten on the horn and said, hey, we've got a 93 in there. I don't have a 93 on the roster. This is some kind of trick play for 93. Call a timeout here. Shut this down. Because, again, it's relying on the players to see it. We didn't, because we took 2 timeouts, one for the clap play earlier, one for this, and the officials on neither one gave the timeout back to Illinois after catching themselves in their own mistake. So that's his beef with the officials. That's what he turned in this week. That's what he's referencing there. Okay, one final thing here. This is a play from earlier in the game. Let me pause it here. To answer the question of was he in 93, did he change the moment before the game? You can see this is what? Wisconsin's 3rd drive. That's their first 2 possessions. So first quarter, Wisconsin's 3rd drive. If you look over with all the backup offensive linemen, there he is, and he's already wearing 93. So I'm guessing he changed in the locker room before the game, after warm-ups, before the start of the game. That's my guess as to when he changed. Does that matter? Not really, I don't think. Again, the reason they had him warm up in 93 is, or warm up in 66 and then change to 93 is they didn't want to tip us off that there's a trick play coming. The only other thing I will say is this, you have to understand the letter of the rule. It reads, that if a player will report, he will inform the head coach of the other team that he is in a different number. So Wisconsin does have a 93 on their roster. He is a defensive end. When this guy comes onto the field in 93, and Wisconsin only has 193 on their roster, he is identifying himself as that kid, Armistead or something like that. He's identifying himself. He's basically wearing that guy's jersey. You see in the shots after the touchdown, the back of his jersey says Rucci. But again, that's the first time a Rucci 93 jersey has existed. That's really what's at the bottom of all of this. Teams are responsible to declare their roster. They are responsible to say, I am this player, and, for a variety of reasons, for unsportsmanlike penalties. You'll hear that is number 6's first unsportsmanlike penalty of the game. If he gets 2, he will be ejected, that type of thing. In order to keep track of things, there have to be rosters, there have to be numbers, and they are maintained by the teams. What Coach Bielema is saying here is Wisconsin pulled a fast one, and per our rules, it is not allowed. And when I have my players change numbers, I have them go report. That is what Wisconsin was supposed to do on this play per the rules, and they didn't. And Big Ten, what are you going to do about it? He didn't say what the resolution was. He didn't say, sometimes a coach will be censured or something like that, but it's never announced. We don't know what became of that, but that's why he brought this up. This was Wisconsin bending the rules, knowing that they're probably not going to get called out in the moment. And if they do get called out after the game for breaking that rule, it's oh gosh, did we break the rules? We're so sorry that we broke the rules on the game-winning touchdown. That's what this is about. That's all I got.